The first light of dawn stretched across the riverbank, casting muted gold over the wet soil. The usual chorus of birds was absent, replaced by a tense silence that seemed to press against the tall grasses. Somewhere near the water's edge, a lioness lay still, her body pressed lightly against the earth. Her chest rose and fell in shallow, irregular breaths, and every now and then a low groan escaped her throat, soft but insistent. The lioness, known to the rangers as Nolla, had been seen alone for weeks. She was a solitary figure, graceful yet wary, patrolling the edges of the reserve with cautious authority. Today, however, something was different. Her eyes, half-lidded, betrayed exhaustion and concentration. Her ears twitched at each faint sound, the way only a predator used to danger could. She was not merely resting, she was preparing, bracing for something unseen, something profound. The team moved quietly, instinctively giving her space. They could feel the tension in the air, the delicate weight of a life about to change. "She's close," one ranger whispered, barely moving his lips, the words almost lost in the rustle of dry reeds. Another nodded, watching the rise and fall of her flanks, each shallow breath a reminder of the fragility of the moment. The ground was damp, the scent of wet earth mixing with the musky perfume of the lioness. Small insects hummed faintly, a muted accompaniment to the distant rush of the river. Nolla shifted slightly, her muscles coiling with intent. She trembled, not with fear but with anticipation, the tension in her limbs like drawn wire. Every step, every twitch, spoke of instinct honed over years, a rhythm older than the humans standing nearby. Minutes stretched, drawn out and deliberate. The rangers dared not move closer. The rustling of leaves, the whisper of wind, the occasional distant bird call, each sound was amplified by the stillness surrounding them. Nolla's soft growls and moans punctuated the air, a language of effort and endurance that required no translation. The earth beneath her seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Then, faintly at first, a tiny sound emerged, a whimper so delicate it could have been mistaken for the rustle of grass. But it was not the wind. It was life. A new life, trembling and raw, pressing against the world with fragile insistence. The rangers exchanged glances, hearts quickening. They had witnessed births before, but rarely with such quiet intimacy, rarely with a sense of awe so palpable it pressed against their chests. Nolla's eyes swept the riverbank, scanning for potential threats, for signs of danger, yet her body relaxed just enough to cradle the unseen newcomer. She moved with careful precision, each adjustment purposeful. The cub was there, somewhere close to her chest, and already the bond was forming, a silent communication between mother and child, between instinct and life itself. The air seemed to shimmer with expectation. The sun climbed higher, painting streaks of gold across her tawny fur. A gentle breeze carried the scent of wet earth and distant wildflowers, mingling with the musky warmth of the lioness. In those quiet moments, the team felt the enormity of the miracle unfolding, a rare birth in the wild, untouched by force, witnessed only by patient eyes and careful hearts. Nolla let out a soft, almost imperceptible growl, a reassurance to her cub, a signal to the world that all was well, that life persisted despite the uncertainty surrounding it. And as the river flowed steadily nearby, a new chapter of life had begun, fragile, trembling, and yet unstoppable. The first cries were soft, barely more than whispers carried on the morning breeze. The river murmured steadily nearby, blending with the occasional rustle of grass, but nothing could mask the tiny, urgent sound of life newly arrived. Nolla shifted her weight carefully, circling the cub with protective precision. Her flanks heaved as she adjusted, pressing the newborn against her chest, licking the wet fur with gentle, deliberate movements. When the team leaned slightly forward, one ranger murmured, "It's different. Look at her coat." The cub's fur was golden, yes, but it carried faint, almost silvery streaks along its back, like sunlight glinting on water. Its tiny paws trembled, exploring the new world cautiously. Each step was tentative, yet it moved with an instinctual urgency toward warmth and safety. Nolla nuzzled the cub, her tongue sweeping over its tiny limbs and face, her growl a low, reassuring rumble. The humans watched in silent reverence, careful not to disturb her rhythm. Even the wind seemed to pause, holding the scent of wet earth, fresh grass, and the faint musky warmth of the lioness. This was a birth unlike any other the team had witnessed, fragile, rare, extraordinary in its quiet subtlety. The cub cried again, small and insistent, and Nolla's eyes softened, a tender awareness radiating in each glance. She shifted to shield it from potential dangers, the tall grass, the rustle of unseen animals, even the humans who had paused respectfully at the edge of her presence. Her instincts, honed over years in the wild, blended seamlessly with her newfound vulnerability as a mother. Minutes passed. The cub struggled to find balance, its tiny legs wobbling with effort, and Nola pressed her body closer, a living cradle. The humans noted the unique markings, the shimmering streaks, the slight differences that set this cub apart from any they had documented before. There was a collective breath held, a recognition that this small life carried a rare thread of nature's ingenuity. Softly, one ranger whispered, "You've done it, Nola, you've done it." His voice was low, respectful, almost a prayer. The lioness did not respond verbally, but her eyes flicked up briefly, acknowledging their presence without yielding control. It was a moment of quiet trust, a bridge between human witness and wild instinct. The river's gentle murmur continued, the forest holding its breath. Sunlight struck the cub's fur, highlighting the subtle silvery tones, creating a gentle glow that seemed to celebrate its rarity. Nola moved carefully, circling the newborn, each step deliberate, each pause a protection. Her tail flicked in slow rhythm, a silent metronome of vigilance and care. The cub's cries became more confident, its small nose sniffing the air, tiny whiskers brushing against Nola's warm fur. She purred softly, a sound almost unrecognizable outside the intimate confines of her family. Around them, the forest seemed to acknowledge the miracle. Birds cautiously resumed their songs, insects hummed faintly, and the scent of damp earth grew richer in the morning sun. For the humans, time slowed. The team recorded each detail, not with pens and cameras alone, but in memory, the rare hue of the cub's fur, the precision of Nola's movements, the almost spiritual stillness that accompanied a moment so delicate and perfect. Each breath, each step, each gentle nuzzle was a testament to survival, instinct, and the quiet power of maternal love. As the sun climbed higher, Nola settled beside the cub, pressing it to her chest, her eyes alert yet calm. The rare life beneath her care was secure, but still vulnerable. A low hum of wind carried the scent of river, soil, and foliage, wrapping the moment in the soft poetry of the wild. And in that suspended quiet, the team understood the extraordinary truth. Life had arrived, rare and shimmering, a small miracle witnessed but never disturbed, a secret of the forest unfolding under the gentle watch of a mother lioness. The soft morning stillness lingered, broken only by the occasional ripple of the river and the distant call of a lone bird. Nola lay with her cub nestled against her chest, the tiny life moving with tentative determination. Her ears twitched, attuned to every subtle sound in the surrounding grasses, every vibration of the earth beneath her paws. The humans nearby held their breath, careful to remain observers rather than participants. Then, a rustle erupted from the dense underbrush. Leaves trembled, and the scent of another predator drifted faintly on the breeze. Hyenas, scavengers drawn instinctively to the smell of fresh life, crept closer, their low, guttural growls vibrating through the soil. The cub whimpered, its tiny voice a fragile alarm against the growing tension. Nola's body coiled instinctively, muscles tensing beneath her tawny fur. She did not roar, not yet. Instead, she lowered her head slightly, eyes fixed on the moving shadows, every nerve attuned to protecting the fragile life she carried. Her tail flicked with precise rhythm, a silent measure of vigilance. The cub pressed closer to her belly, instinctively seeking warmth and safety, and the humans watched in quiet awe. "She's not scared. She's ready," whispered one ranger, barely moving his lips. The words barely stirred the air, but the respect in his tone matched the gravity of the moment. Nola's eyes flicked briefly toward the humans, an acknowledgement of their presence, a silent signal. They were tolerated witnesses, not threats. The hyenas hesitated, caught between hunger and caution. Nola moved with deliberate grace, stepping between the cub and the approaching danger. Her movements were fluid yet deliberate, a careful blend of strength and caution. Each step was calculated to protect without unnecessary aggression, to assert dominance without provoking a charge. For a few tense minutes, time stretched. The river flowed beside them, unchanging, indifferent, yet the air seemed charged with expectancy. Nola let out a low, rumbling growl, a sound deep in her throat that vibrated through the ground and carried a warning without violence. The hyenas froze, uncertain, evaluating whether to press forward. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they retreated, melting back into the shadows of the forest. The cub stirred, squeaking softly, and Nola leaned in to nuzzle it, her tongue sweeping over its trembling body. The humans exhaled collectively, releasing the tension they had held for minutes, their hearts pounding in silent rhythm with hers. She had protected her cub without force, relying on presence, instinct, and quiet authority, a display of patience and power interwoven. The riverbank returned to stillness, though the air now carried a renewed sharpness, a reminder that the wild was alive and vigilant. Nola lay down again, circling the cub into the warmth of her body, muscles still taut but slowly relaxing. The cub wobbled to find a more comfortable position, tiny legs unsteady yet persistent. Nola purred softly, a vibration that resonated with security, a reassurance that life was protected. The humans remained silent, observing the delicate balance between vulnerability and strength. Every subtle glance, every twitch of the ears, every soft rumble was a lesson in maternal instinct and survival. Even in the presence of danger, Nola's trust in her instincts and, to some extent, the humans nearby, allowed her to act without panic, without miscalculation. The wind picked up slightly, carrying the scents of river, wet soil, and foliage. Sunlight filtered through the trees in scattered beams, illuminating Nola's fur and the tiny cub nestled against her chest. In the stillness that followed the threat, the moment felt sacred, a rare glimpse into the quiet, formidable grace of nature. For the humans, it was a reminder. Life in the wild was both fragile and resilient. The rare cub had survived its first encounter with danger, cradled in the protection of its mother. And in that riverbank silence, there was a quiet gratitude, a shared understanding between human witness and wild instinct, that this fragile new life would continue, at least for now, in safety. The morning tension had eased, leaving a quiet rhythm along the riverbank. Nola lay with her cub tucked closely against her chest, the small life trembling occasionally as it explored the new world around it. She shifted slowly, adjusting her body to provide warmth and protection. The humans remained at a respectful distance, their presence acknowledged by brief glances and subtle ear flicks. The team knew the cub was rare, a golden coat streaked faintly with silver, markings unlike any other they had encountered in the reserve. Every movement was fragile yet purposeful, every breath a reminder of the delicate balance between life and the wild. The rangers exchanged quiet whispers, careful to disturb nothing. "One step at a time, we're just here," murmured one, voice low, almost reverent. Nola's ears flicked in their direction, a brief acknowledgement, but she remained focused on her cub, circling it with patient, measured motions. She was neither frightened nor aggressive. Her trust was quiet, conditional, a fragile bridge between instinct and human observation. The humans gently cleared small twigs and loose branches that could have threatened the newborn, doing so with slow, deliberate movements. They placed a container of clean water a few meters away, close enough for convenience, but far enough to respect the lioness's space. Nola's eyes tracked every motion, yet she remained calm, her tail flicking slowly in a pattern of measured tolerance. The cub's tiny paws wobbled as it explored the soft grass beneath them. Its small cries mingled with the hum of the river, the breeze carrying the earthy scent of wet soil and foliage. Nola pressed her body close, nuzzling the cub with careful precision. Her tongue swept over its fur in soft, cleansing strokes, a ritual of care learned through instinct and necessity. The sun climbed higher, spilling warm light across the riverbank. The forest responded in gentle whispers, insects hummed faintly, birds resumed their morning songs, and leaves rustled softly in the wind. In this quiet, the humans felt the magnitude of the moment, a rare life being nurtured in the wild, untouched by force, observed only by patient eyes. Minutes passed, each filled with subtle gestures of care. Nola shifted occasionally, repositioning her cub with deliberate care, her body a living cradle. She growled softly, a rumble that reassured the cub, warning any unseen threats without aggression. The humans exhaled quietly, hearts synchronized with the rhythms of mother and child, witnessing without interference, guiding without imposing. The cub, emboldened by warmth and proximity, began to explore more confidently, sniffing the ground, pressing against Nola's chest, testing tiny limbs against the earth. Nola responded with gentle nudges, soft rumbles, and the protective curl of her body. Each motion was deliberate, a balance of freedom and safety. By late morning, the team stepped back slightly, allowing Nola and her cub to settle into a natural rhythm. The cub pressed into her side, eyes half closed in brief, exhausted contentment. Nola remained alert, ears swiveling to capture every sound, yet her body relaxed incrementally, her trust in the humans now quiet but tangible. The river continued its steady murmur, blending with the faint calls of distant birds and the soft rustling of leaves. The forest seemed to exhale, embracing the small miracle of life under its canopy. In that serene moment, the humans carried a silent gratitude, aware they had witnessed a rare birth, had honored the rhythm of nature, and had quietly played a supporting role without ever intruding. As the sun warmed the riverbank, Nola settled into a calm watchfulness, the cub pressed securely to her chest. Life was protected, fragile yet resilient, and the humans felt the profound weight of witnessing this delicate balance, a rare, fleeting moment of trust, care, and silent wonder in the wild. By late afternoon, the riverbank had settled into a serene rhythm. Nola rose, muscles rippling under her tawny coat, the cub pressed securely against her chest. Its tiny legs wobbled as she adjusted, yet she moved with effortless grace, every step a careful measure of balance and protection. The humans followed at a respectful distance, allowing the natural flow of life to continue undisturbed. The cub's tiny cries, faint but insistent, were a reminder of vulnerability and resilience intertwined. Nola paused occasionally, scanning the edges of the forest, ears swiveling at the faintest sounds. Her gaze occasionally met the humans, a silent acknowledgement of the shared space, yet her body remained resolutely protective. She was the master of her world, yet allowed careful witnesses to bear witness without fear. The forest embraced them with muted colors, dappled light filtering through the canopy, the rustle of leaves mingling with distant bird calls. The air smelled of wet earth and wildflowers, carrying the subtle scent of river and foliage. Each step Nola took seemed to harmonize with the environment, a gentle rhythm of life and survival. The cub stumbled once, then pressed against Nola for guidance, tiny paws seeking the security of her warmth. She nudged it gently, encouraging exploration without risk, letting it learn through touch and instinct. The humans watched quietly, recording in memory rather than on paper, hearts swelling with a profound appreciation for the trust placed in them by the wild mother. As they moved deeper into the forest, shadows lengthened, sunlight spilling golden streaks across the undergrowth. The cub's silvery-streaked fur caught the light, shimmering subtly as it walked, a rare testament to nature's quiet artistry. Nola's tail flicked rhythmically, a silent measure of vigilance, while her soft rumble reassured the cub and announced their presence to the forest, a quiet statement of belonging. The humans allowed distance to grow naturally, letting Nola guide her cub through the terrain, across soft soil and beneath low-hanging branches. The river's murmur faded behind them, replaced by the richer hum of the forest, insects, birds, and the subtle whisper of wind through leaves. The wild seemed to acknowledge the small family, granting them space, protection, and continuity. Occasionally, Nola would glance over her shoulder, her eyes calm but penetrating, as though sharing a final, silent message of gratitude and mutual respect. The cub pressed against her side, tiny body learning the contours of its mother's strength, its first lessons in life unfolding in real time. The humans exhaled softly, hearts full, recognizing the fleeting perfection of this moment. The forest deepened, shadows long and soft. Birds resumed their chorus with renewed energy, insects hummed in gentle rhythm, and the scent of earth and water mingled in the warm air. Nola and her cub disappeared among the trees, paw prints pressed into the soil marking the path of resilience, care, and new beginnings. The humans lingered briefly at the edge of the clearing, absorbing the quiet majesty of what they had witnessed. No words could capture the delicate balance of trust, survival, and beauty they had observed. The rare cub, safe in its mother's care, had taken its first steps into the world. And in that moment, the team carried with them an eternal whisper of the wild, a memory of trust, wonder, and the fragile miracle of life. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the riverbank with fading gold, the forest exhaled around them. Life continued, fragile, powerful, and endlessly remarkable, leaving only footprints and a sense of quiet awe as a testament to the extraordinary day they had witnessed.